Viper. Oh man, where do I start? The problem with this job and the change that was already made for this job, it was just too soon, honestly. I'm very convinced that Viper wasn't ready to be given like a rework per se. You know what I mean? The whole like Dread Fang and Dread Winder thing was really really cool, and I actually really liked it. I'm just sad that you know, it's something that had to go just because, you know, people were having a hard time playing. And like, don't get me wrong, like me too. But I think that like, I think Viper was the first class where people were like, dude, this job is like a lot, you know. But it also like warranted the challenge, and like offer people the opportunity of like, dude, I want to learn how to play some Viper. So, but like, don't get me wrong, like Viper's still like a lot of fun to play. I love playing me some Viper. I just know that like the other version that I had of Viper with the 40-second like everything was kind of like the mold breaker, if you will, where I was like, oh yeah, cool, they're finally like in the process of doing this thing. And then they of course like reworked it entirely. Even though like the rework isn't insane, but it's still like present. So I feel like the impression that they got initially of Viper when it first came out was pretty much what they were just expecting to keep going with it moving forward. And so I think for them to have reworked it on like a whim was like a unexpected decision, but they still kind of were like, oh, like, you know, we thought about it anyways, but like we get it though, you know. So I think that actually changes a lot of how people kind of perceive Viper, because realistically it should be like top 3 melee next to Samurai. I think it's like the number 6 or something. Like it's okay. But like Viper's cool, you know. Viper still can be brought to the table and do a lot of job stuff, which is awesome. Like it's incredible in like raids, trials, and dungeons, but it stops there. So, you know, I think that like that's tough. So for me, the changes for Viper actually don't really come from the job itself. Like, I think the job is fine for how it plays. It's just not good to play outside of 100, which is the exact same problem that we covered with Reaper. Like, Reaper came out and it was like a 90 job, and it was perfect at 90, and it's like fine at 100, even though it's like a little weird. So Viper is like really good at 100, but like it doesn't really have like the ability to be super good like everywhere else. And the problem too is like, again, it's not the job identity itself, it's much more so the leveling. If you go to the actions and traits section, as much as all of this is really cool to look at, there's like a huge like wide myriad of problems, and I think that this needs to be reworked very soon, hopefully, because like right now in every single like ultimate, for example, again, it like Viper is great in dungeons, trials, and raids, like it's fine, but people want a reason to bring this fight to the ultimates, and as far as I'm aware, it's just not good in any ultimate right now. You know, and all of it stems from just being able to change these buttons around, and they have the power to do that. Genuinely, I really think that that's what they should just focus on first and foremost, is just changing how all of these buttons operate in terms of the level. Like for example, Vicewinder and Hunter's Coil and Switchman's Coil being like your like your positionals, which is great, but then you have these AoE versions, and genuinely like these are threes, right, instead of like twos, so you can't even like use these moves, right? I would first change I would make is to just simply switch the den attacks, the AoE versions, with twins. If you make Twin Fang and Twin Blood a level 70 skill instead of these moves, I think you generally like fix Viper pretty decently at like level level 70, pretty much. It's not going to benefit so much in certain scenarios, but like I think it just weighs itself out better if the Twin Fang and Blood moves were level 70 and the AoEs were like 75, for example. That's what I think personally. And then at level 80, I think if you actually bring Uncoiled Fury down to, I would say like just bring it down to 80. I think that would also be great, because what you get at 80 is the AoE versions of Twin Blood and Fang for those moves, right? So, which again is cool, but I'm very much under the impression that they should just. It is a weird feeling. Like, it's weird to get AoEs super late. Like, don't get me wrong, but like also it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. But realistically, I think that if they're gonna make this job feel a lot better, they'd have to make it work a little bit better at level 70 and 80 in order for it to thrive a little bit better in those realms of leveling. And then I feel that it's kind of like whatever. So that's what I think personally. And then I actually would change Reawaken in terms of its level 2, which is weird because I think it makes sense for it to be level 90, but also because you have the generations that come into play with it also, but you get the legacies at 100, which is fine. So I wonder if people would be okay with the generations coming out at level 90, but you get Reawaken at 80 also. So like, at least you can press that button at level 80, you know what I mean? I think that would be pretty... I'd be very intrigued to see that. And I think all this is to just compensate for the way how the job functions at level 80 specifically, which is reasonable considering that we're talking about the only level 80 ultimate that exists, which is T, right? So, because I mean, even in raids and trials and dungeons that are level 80 also, like, the job's still kind of like, oof, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's going to be mostly applied for the ultimate, but I think it just in general also, you know what I mean? I would reorganize all of these levels and do exactly that. So you get these levels at 75, you get these two twins at 70, you get that at 80, but you don't get the generations at 80. You get these at 90. You can keep that there, that's fine. And then I would almost bring this down also, like 78 or like something. And I think that's kind of sort of it though. I don't think that you can really do all too much else besides it's really the level organization that's the problem. The job functionality itself is cool. I like that, like, for a job that has a speed version and a speed attack and then like a power thing, and then, you know, like, you do end up pressing like quite a lot of buttons. You know, the speed of pressing these buttons is really cool actually. And I find this job to be a ton of fun. I just think that it needs to be fun at every level besides level 100, you know? And I think that it's really easy for them to do that. They just have to do it. So, Viper is fun. I highly recommend it once you get it to 100, but it is definitely a drag going through levels like 80 to 96. 95 with Viper. 96 you get Ouroboros, which is cool, and then 100 you get the legacies, which I think is also really sick. But I would like for them to somehow reorganize the levels, which they've showcased to us that they can do that. So just do that. Reorganize the levels when you get skills, make it more viable for level 70, level 80, and like, you have yourself like an incredible job. That's what it'll change. I do miss like the whole idea behind the, like, when you had like a dot or like a Shadow of Death with Dreadfang, like if a Dread move thing, and then the 40-second timer. Like, I do miss that, but also it was too already for, you know, it's already gone. Like, it's whatever. So now here's my question too: is like, if they release it in a new expansion, like if 8.0 comes out, like, what do they do with this job? You know, I don't actually know. I thought about it too, but I have no idea. So, genuinely like weird question, but alas, I mean, if I had to think about it, they probably would do like an Ouroboros OG city. Yeah, something like that. And I can definitely see them taking a lot of abilities that Viper has right now also and upgrading them, because even though Viper is flashy cool, there's still a lot of abilities that they can just easily, you know, change and make look even cooler, which I'm cool with. But like, you know, it's not like it's a super big necessity for them to worry about right now. The real important thing for them to worry about is just like the leveling up of the job functionality across the board. So Viper's cool, and I'm hoping that they fix it, but we'll see until we find out more information. So there you go.